everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Umineko. The last time we left off, well, things happened to Shannon, George, and Gohda, and I believe this final chapter, I believe this is the final chapter, I think, where everything will fall into place, probably. Anyway, without further ado, let's just get right into today's episode. After Genji finished taking his late meal, he went out to do the nighttime rounds inside the mansion. He reheated the soup that Gohda had started making and ate some random leftovers from the refrigerator. They were all things Gohda had made himself and were, of course, delicious. He had half-heartedly gone to ask Rosa and the others what they would do for dinner, but he had been yelled at by a voice telling him that they had canned food, so they were fine, and the door wasn't even opened for him. Half-heartedly seems a bit odd. So, ironically, it was the servant Genji who was able to eat the more delicious meal. But even though all of those crimes had been committed, and many people had already met a brutal end, why was it that Genji wasn't afraid to do the rounds all by himself? My, he's so dedicated. Even in this situation, he is still doing the rounds like a dutiful servant. Judging by his appearance as he carried out his normal tasks without a trace of fear, as though everything was normal, you might think that all of the horrible events that had happened today were just a dream or an illusion. Was he taking a philosophic view, or was it simply resignation? Genji must have considered it a virtue to systematically carry out his duty until the last moment, since the fate that awaited him was unavoidable. It would probably be eternally impossible to perceive the depth of his heart unless he told of it himself. Because he had given the master key back to Rosa, the places he could go to were extremely limited. All he could do was walk around hallways, checking to make sure that the windows were closed. I don't know how long the gap in time has been since the three of them left to the chapel and came back. But Genji seems pretty calm despite what everything has happened. So he was able to go around that route far more quickly than usual. That's a new place. Or is it not? Is this the kitchen back door? Oh, I'm scared. No, that's not fair. After the sound of a moderate knock, Auntie Rosa, who had been falling into a doze shortly before, jumped and woke up, pointing the barrel of the gun at the door as she yelled. I was napping on a sofa, and that voice also brought me back to reality.
Rosa-sama, Genji de gozaimasu.
何か用なの？扉は開けなくて結構よ。そのままで話して。
はい。それではこのままで失礼させていただきます。南條先生と熊沢の遺体を見つけました。
Oh my goodness.
なんだって。
そう、わかったわ。確認に行きましょう。
Why? Just stay inside and don't leave the room.
死体を見ない限り、私は誰も信じない。
If all you have to do is to wait until tomorrow morning or afternoon when the boat comes, you have enough food to survive. Why not just stay locked inside the room?
大丈夫だよ、バトラ。
マリアといれば絶対に大丈夫。
Maybe my face was shadowed with anxiety. Maria grasped my hand with her small hand and spoke softly, trying to give me courage. Since it was Auntie Rosa's job to ready the gun and stand guard, it fell to me to remove the barricade of sofas. When I finished, I took a backward glance at Auntie Rosa, who was pointing the barrel of the gun over my shoulder, and opened the door.
ケンジさん、二人の死体はどこに？
中庭です。ご案内いたします。
バトラ君待って。念のため部屋の戸締まりを確認していくわ。ちょっと待ってね。
She is very on guard. She is definitely a lot more cautious than Natsuhi. But really, enough of the comparisons to Natsuhi. I think it's quite obvious that Rosa is really just super distrustful of other people. And yes, I think she wants to check everything for herself. But it's fair enough. Auntie Rosa called me to a halt to prevent me from going on ahead and began to carefully check the locks on each of the windows. But those locks had already been checked once. It felt kind of unpleasant, as though she suspected that I might have secretly unlocked them when she wasn't looking. No, maybe she was right to be this cautious. Even though it was called a courtyard, it wasn't really a pretty place you could take a walk in like the Rose Garden. On the contrary, since it was surrounded by the mansion on all sides, it made you feel a little discomfort, as though it was telling you that you couldn't escape from the mansion even if you tried to escape to the outside. They keep making these references that this place is like an illusion, or like no one can get out of this island. They keep emphasizing that this island is extremely isolated. I can't help but wonder if it's trying to tell us something, or it's just what it is, a description. On the other hand, thanks to that, even though the violent winds could be heard, the wind itself was blocked. Genji-san held out an umbrella, but Auntie Rosa ignored him. Oh, poor Genji. She probably wanted to say that the gun took two hands, so taking the umbrella would be dangerous because she wouldn't be able to fire the gun. Even without Genji-san pointing his finger, we could tell immediately. Right in the center of the courtyard, you could see where Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa-san lay. Auntie Rosa entered the courtyard without even an umbrella. So Genji-san and I also entered the courtyard without opening one. Only Maria had one open like normal.
Maria.
What's wrong?
これはあれだな。
おお、第7の番と第8の番だね。
なるほど。確かにケンジさんたちが言っていたように二人の首にはひどい傷があるわね。すごく鋭利な、まるで日本刀か何かで切ったかのようにすっぱりね。
The gaping wound on their necks definitely made me want to avert my eyes. But after seeing the Halloween party in the chapel, even though I thought it was horrible, it was no longer enough to make me feel sick. Instead, our gazes were directed to their legs. In Dr. Nanjo's knee, in Kumasawa-san's ankle. Driven into each of them was something like a knife or a stick with a demonic decoration. They would surely be the same as the one that had pierced Jessica's back.
これは何なの？ジェシカちゃんの時と同じね。何かオカルトの儀式のつもり。
わかりません。 彼らの遺体を最後に見た時にはこのようなものはありませんでした。使用人室から運び出された後にやられたのでしょう。
The one that had been stuck into Dr. Nanjo's knee was still standing erect. But the one that had been thrust into Kumasawa-san's ankle might have been a little shallower. It's strange. So someone's putting in stakes to pretend it's part of the ritual? Or what? He had come out and fallen over. That's strange too. Before, like in Eva and Hideyoshi's case, the stake was driven in super hard into their skull, right? But in Kumasawa-san's case, it's shallow. So, it was only when I saw that one that had fallen over that for the first time I realized that it wasn't a knife, but something like a stake. Its full length was probably about 30 centimeters. It was probably made out of bronze or iron or something of the sort. Even without touching it, I could tell that it had some weight to it. It was composed of a grip and a cone-shaped part, and it was obviously made to be a piercing weapon. Maybe you could describe it like a miniature version of those lenses Western knights used on horseback. The grooves that had been carved in a spiral shaped made it also look like a drill. However, the grip had an occult-like design of a demon or something. So instead of a weapon used in war, it felt like something that would be used in a ritual to offer up a sacrifice.
間違いない。生贄のつもりなんだな。
第7の番に膝をえぐりて殺せ。第8の番に足をえぐりて殺せ。
待てよ。それじゃ第4、5、6の番が抜けちまう。
No, they didn't.
まさか。
But hold on. Right, if Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa are the 7th and 8th Twilight, then we're... Oh my. Sorry if I kind of jump ahead here, but this, I feel like, is a pretty big clue. The order of the death may not be what it seems, right? Because I assumed that because they were stabbed according to the epitaph that they died in accordance to the epitaph, meaning that everyone died in a certain order, but it doesn't have to be this way. Kumasawa and Nanjo died first before the other three, but they're gonna be the 7th and 8th Twilight? Much to think about. That's right. Why is Genji-san alone? If something like this had happened, why wouldn't George, Aniki, Gohda-san, or Shannon-chan be here? Why was Genji-san alone?
どういうこと？ジョージ君たち3人はどこへ行ったの？
夏日奥様のお部屋を探し物に行きたいと言われまして、お出かけになりました。
Is he not gonna say that they were searching for a spirit mirror?
まだお戻りになりません。
なんだって。その出かけたってのはいつ頃の話なんだよ。
2、3時間前のことだと思います。
Then it's strange that they are not back.
そんな、なんでそんな大事なことをやっちゃなくて、なんで不審に思わなかったんだよ。
常に一人、使用人は待機していなくてはなりません。彼らが戻るまで待機しているのが私のお務めでしたもの。
Was Genji-san really this much of a robot? This is bad. This is bad. It's really bad. The fact that Dr. Nanjo and Kumasawa's son had been killed in this way meant that 3 people had already been killed. No, it doesn't, right? I feel like this is a big clue for me. We ran towards Aunt Natsuhi's room with a touch of anxiety and just as much resignation. Before we even saw the inside of Aunt Natsuhi's room, we were imprisoned by a certain resignation. There's gonna be a magic circle. No? On that door was bizarre graffiti. No. Filth. Don't scare me. Okay. In any case, the door wasn't in a normal state, and we were able to imagine what was inside that room without opening it. On the face of the door, how should I say it? Someone had heavily painted their hands with the same red paint that the magic circles from before had been drawn with, and had banged on the door, scratched it, and dirtied it. It was dirtied like the aftermath of a kindergartner playing in the mud. It reminds me of that time in episode 1 where Natsuhi found something similar on her door handle, right? And I'm totally reaching here, but what do you know? It was Genji who found her door in that state too at that time. I didn't know what it could mean. The bright red paint that had been slathered on was dripping down, and even though no one said it, it made us think of blood.
Genji-san, 開けてください.
Auntie Rosa held her gun up high and ordered Genji-san to open it. Genji-san approached the door without being particularly troubled by that stuff on it and turned the knob. But he immediately turned around, shaking his head. It was locked. Right now, there was only one person in this mansion who could lock and unlock doors at will. Auntie Rosa. Oh my, I wonder what Rosa is gonna say about this. Now she's the only person who can create a locked room. This time, Genji-san asked Auntie Rosa to unlock the door instead of the other way around. After making a slightly disgruntled face, Auntie Rosa handed me a master key and told me to open the door.
バトラ君、これで開けてもらえる。
そのくらいのこと、ケンジさんを信用しても。
Auntie Rosa glared at me with an intense gaze. Getting in a fight here would only make the environment turn even more sour. What does that mean, environment turn? The way I understand it is that, well, Battler is playing a move and the environment is gonna play a move? That's so weird. Unless I'm thinking of this wrong, but it's weird. Something's gonna happen then. Without talking back anymore, I approached that creepy door and tried the knob. It didn't open. What? Oh, okay. I thought the master key didn't work. It was definitely the resistance of the lock. I stuck the master key into the keyhole. Clunk. A light resistance. While listening to Auntie Rosa as she told me to be cautious, I opened the door without being particularly cautious at all. And there was the scene, laid out before us, not betraying our expectations in the slightest.
ひどい。
やっぱり第4、5、6の番の再現だったな。
The inside of the room looked as though a robber had just broken in. Drawers were flung open, pulled out with their contents thrown all over the floor. the room devastated so that it looked nothing like the room of the methodical Aunt Natsui. But the thing that caught the eye before that was Gohda-san's body lying face down right in front of the door. One of those demon stakes had been rammed right into the center of his chest, almost as though it had been stuck there to finish off a vampire. Exactly how far would it have reached after being stuck that deeply into his chest? My own chest hurt just imagining it.
胸をえぐれば第5の番だったが。
Maria grabbed my hand. Her expression looked just like normal. But maybe she was really afraid of the aura in this room where 3 bodies lay. And along the wall farthest into the room, George Aniki was dead. This time, one of those stakes had been rammed right in the center of his stomach. Gouging the stomach was the 6th twilight, I think. Oh no. Shannon-chan's body was face down over the front of the dresser, lying in a sea of blood. In its horribly broken mirror, sprayed with blood, had she seen her final worldly expression. Because she was face down, I couldn't see her face, but I could imagine it without seeing it. Nearby, in the sea of blood she lay in, a demon stake had fallen. That's strange. Before, none of the stakes fell, but now we have 2 that fell. Only the 4th twilight was left. Gouge the head and kill. Maybe my heart was completely tired out and dead. Even though I knew what I was doing was wrong, I lifted her head and checked, and confirmed that my guess was right on the mark. Oh. There was a gaping hole in Shannon-chan's forehead, and her insides were dripping out. Not only that, you could even see inside her. After seeing that, I finally noticed that what I was doing was wrong. I immediately averted my eyes, but by now it was probably pointless.
こらバトラ君、警察が来るまでそっとしておかないとダメよ。勝手に触ってどういうつもり？せっかくの現場証拠がおかしくなっちゃったらどうするのよ。
Auntie Rosa yelled furiously at me and even yanked the back of my collar. I tottered limply and fell on my butt and gazed dimly up at the ceiling.
マリア。これで第8の番まで終わっちまったな。第9の番って何だったっけ？
第9の晩に魔女は蘇り、誰も生き残れはしない。
そっか。これで黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェは復活するんだな。そしてなんだ、最後の第10の晩。
第10の晩に旅は終わり、黄金の里に至るだろう。黄金鏡の扉はもうすぐ開かれるんだよ。もうすぐ。
魔女は蘇り、誰も生き残れはしない。俺たちはこれから死ぬのか、それともこれで生贄の儀式は終了で俺たちの旅は終わり、黄金鏡へたどり着けるのか。
This is something that I still don't fully understand.
何が俺たちの旅だ。俺たちは今日一日犯人を見つけよう、事態を打開しようと散々頭をひねって何も至れなかった。バカの考え休むに似たりってやつだ。そうさ、俺たちは今日一日ずっと憎悪と疑心暗鬼で自分を焼き焦がした。 死んだ人間しか信用できないって言ってわざわざ3人の死に顔をここまで確認に来たんだぞ。こんな俺たちがどうして黄金鏡とやらにたどり着けるっていうんだよ。
Well, in the first place, what is the Golden Land? Anyway, that's right. If nothing could be solved, it would have been much better if we had locked ourselves up the whole time without thinking at all. Grandfather was the wisest of us. He has been shut up in his room since yesterday without any contact with anyone. That would have been fine. Grandfather was the most correct. That's such a tone of defeat.
大丈夫だよバトラー。マリアといれば大丈夫。魔女はとても気まぐれで、時に面白半分に人間を殺すかもしれない恐ろしい存在だけれども、でもマリアと一緒にいれば絶対に大丈夫だから、怯えないで。
Okay, Maria, I'll trust you.
ありがとな。気休めでも嬉しいぜ。
Why do I feel like he said this before? After Auntie Rosa finished investigating their deaths, she proclaimed that she would seal this room again, chased the rest of us out, stole back the master key she had lent me, and locked the door again. Is no one gonna ask or confront Rosa? It seemed that George Aniki had been holding the original key to Aunt Natsuhi's room. She had also collected that. Why? That's weird. Wait a second. She had all of the master keys in her hand. Finally! And if the original key had been shut up inside that room, wasn't this another locked room? So this is the fourth locked room? Now that we have been released from our suspicion of those three, we once again returned to the parlor. I don't have a clue what's going on anymore. If only the dead are safe and everyone alive is a wolf, then all that's left is me, Auntie Rosa, Maria, and Genji. What about Kinzo? Only those, grandfather and that 19th person, the guest who I haven't even sensed, Beatrice. 13 people had died and 6 were left. With only 6 people, how would the wolves and sheep puzzle end? Even though the puzzle, which had 19 people in it, had been reduced to a mere 6, I couldn't find any answer. We returned to the parlor. I felt a little anxious that, while we were gone, a creepy magic circle or something might have been drawn on the door to the parlor, but thankfully there was none.
ありがとう、ゲンジさん。ここまでで結構よ。あなたも今日は休んでください。
かしこまりました。
Even now, she doesn't trust Genji, when she is the most suspicious one.
これで休ませていただきます。
おい、ローザおばさん。この状況下で、源氏さんをたった一人で過ごさせるっていうのかよ。
そうね。とても危険なことだと思うわ。でも、ならなぜ彼は無事なの？彼は3人が夏日姉さんの部屋へ向かった後、ずっと一人でいた。なのに無事だった。狼と羊のパズルよ。最も弱い立場となる孤立した羊が無事な理由は何？
But her logic doesn't hold up when we take into account that Genji doesn't have the master key.
狼がたまたまいなかったんだろ。
違うわ。それが羊じゃなかったからよ。
源氏さんが狼だって言うのかよ。
彼は一人で厨房にいたそうだけど、それは証明不能よ。南條先生たちの死体を運んだり、ジョージ君たちを殺したりできたのは彼かベアトリーチェだけなのよ。
待てよ。その論法じゃ誰だって。
バトラ様。
Oh my goodness. They were arguing about this right in front of Genji himself. That's horrible.
お気遣いをありがとうございます。私は信頼を勝ち得るのは常に100の言い訳ではなく、たとえ信頼をいただけなくても、私は最後まで誠実でありたいと思います。
源氏さん。
なら決まりね。あなたが本当に無実なら、それは明日やってくる警察が証明してくれるわ。だからそれまでの間、あなたを疑いから外すわけにはいかない。長年後宮家に仕えてくれたあなたにこんな仕打ちをするのは本当に心苦しいんだけれど、今夜は分かってください。そして明日になったらもう一度仲直りさせてください。
That's not true. Rosa's kind of just saying things. Genji-san gave his head a small shake.
今日も明日も私は後宮家の使用人であり続けます。ご用がありましたらいつでもお申し付けください。それでは失礼させていただきます。
After hearing all that, there was nothing left to say. Genji-san bowed deeply and left down the hall. I wonder what will happen now. And we entered the room. Even though Auntie Rosa still held all of the master keys herself, she began another thorough check of the inside of the parlor. She opened the curtains and checked again to make sure the windows were locked. As I watched, how should I say it? I felt like it didn't really matter anymore. If I said anything unnecessary, it would turn into another fight. For a while, I gazed at her from the corridor, figured I had waited just about long enough, and entered the parlor behind her. If she can't trust anyone but the dead, she should just go around killing everyone with the gun she's got in her hand. No. What? And then in the end, she'll realize that she herself was the wolf. And then she can blast through the head of the final wolf and the curtain will close on this insane murder theater. That's weird. As I thought that bitterly, I returned to the sofa where I had been encamped before and rudely rested both of my feet on a table. Or was about to, when I found something there and stopped my feet. Another envelope?
なんだ。
Right there, almost as though it was addressed to me, was a Western envelope. It was that envelope from before with the seal of the one-winged eagle. And it was unopened. Wait. What is this? Who put it in a place like this? Okay, first, maybe. Considering it was Rosa who last left this room, it could be Rosa. I had been sitting here the whole time until I went with everyone to check the corpses. And there hadn't been anything. And when I returned, it was here.
大丈夫。戸締まりに問題はないわ。この部屋は安全よ。
I heard Rosa muttering that. Wait. We had made sure this room was safe when we exited it. We had checked that the windows were all perfectly locked. And we had locked it, come back, and the windows were still locked. Then, wait. Who had put this letter here and how? I opened the letter. 2 pieces of stationery came out. The first page had a magic circle drawn on it in something like blood. I remember this. It's the one for discord. If I asked Maria, she'd probably know what it meant. And there was writing on the other page.
気分の謎解きは進んでおりますか？もうじきあっさり時間切れ。第9の番はもうじき始まります。
There was no mistake. It was a letter from Beatrice.
ほう、バトラー、それは？
ああ、今ここに来たら、置いてあった。
どうしたのマリア？バトラ君、その手紙は？
いや、ここに置いてあったんだ。どうしてだよ。この部屋はちゃんと戸締まりをしていたのに。どうしてだよ。どうして。
マリア、いらっしゃい。
Auntie Rosa closed her eyes just a little and after silently thinking something, told Maria to come. Maria obeyed her mother's words. Oh no, I don't like this. As she did, something unbelievable happened. I knew it! I knew it! Auntie Rosa pointed the barrel of that gun at me.
バトラ君、あなたを狼だと断定するわ。
どうして。
I just want to say this is a funky beat.
私はこの部屋にたった今帰ってきて、そのテーブルの上に何もないことを見ているわ。
I don't believe you, Rosa. I don't.
そしてマリアがそのテーブルに近づいていないことも知っている。わずかな時間よ。でもこのテーブルに近づき、そして手紙を見つけたと主張するのはあなただけなのよ。
And by that logic, Rosa, you are a wolf from that time in the servant's room. You are the wolf.
そんなのって、いや、めちゃくちゃだ。なんで俺がこんなものを置くんだよ。おいおい、俺は不審なものを見つけて報告しただけだぜ。なんで俺が疑われるんだよ。
あなたにしかその手紙をそこへ置けないからよ。そう、これは自作自演。あなたが懐から封筒を取り出し、たった今見つけたかのように振る舞った。密室の中に魔女が入って手紙を置いていった幻想を作り出すためにね。
It's so ironic that it's Rosa saying this when that's what I said about her regarding the servant's room. Which also makes me feel like maybe I'm on the wrong track.
バカ野郎。またそういう考えなのかよ。そんなことで俺まで疑うのかよ。いい加減にしろ。俺は親父たちを殺されてるんだぞ。そんな俺がどうして犯人の片棒を担がなければならないんだよ。
そうね、たとえ莫大なお金がもらえるとしたとしても、そんなことで肉親の命を切り売りできるような悪魔がいるなんて信じたくないわ。でもね、いるかもしれない。言い方が悪いわね。例えばバトラ君にとってルドルフ兄さんたちが親でなかったとしたら。
Man, that is really screwed up.
何を言い出すかと思えば、親父は親父だろうが。確かにキリエさんと血縁はねえが、俺の姉貴も同然のお人だ。そこだけは聞き捨てならねえぞ、この野郎。
言うのをやめなさい。ごめんなさい、言い方が悪かったわね。確かに後ろ宮バトラ君はルドルフ兄さんの子供かもしれない。でもあなた本当にルドルフ兄さんの息子のバトラ君なの？
He really is acting so weird. And I'm still gonna hold on to my theory that Rosa is actually the witch in disguise or something like that.
何をわけのわかんねえこと。俺がバトラーじゃねえんなら誰に見えるってんだよ。
ルドルフ兄さんも含めて私たちは6年ぶりにあなたに再会しているわ。あなたが本当に後宮バトラーかなんて誰も証明できないのよ。
Pull out your birth records, Battler.
あなたは本当は後宮バトラーじゃなくて後宮家の財産をうまく騙し取ろうと紛れ込んだ何者かもしれない。あなた自分が後宮バトラーだとはっきり証明できる。今この場で。
いい加減にしやがれ。俺は俺だ。後宮バトラーだ。そこまで疑い出したらあんただって本当に後宮ローザなのかよ。自分は自分だ。他の誰でもね。ああそうだな。あんたの言う通りだぜ。死体以外で信用できるのは自分だけってわけだ。そこまで言うなら反論させてもらうぜ。ジョージの兄貴たちが死んでいた夏日おばさんの部屋には鍵がかかってた。部屋の鍵はジョージの兄貴が持っていたんだろう。そしてマスターキーを持ってるのは今やローザおばさんだけだぜ。あの部屋に施錠できたのはあんただけじゃねえかよ。俺の推理じゃこうだ。
I'm very curious to see what Rosa will respond with.
あんたは真犯人と通じ合っていて俺たちの目を盗み5つのマスターキーのうちの1つをこっそり貸し出したんだ。
I was gonna say if it's possible, but it actually could be. Slip the key under the door, or while Rosa is checking the windows, she exchanged something over there. It's very, very possible if Battler isn't looking.
そんなことしないわよ。ほらここに5つあるわよ。
そんなの当てになるもんか。あらかじめ取り決めた場所に置かせて回収したかもしれねえじゃねえかよ。それにマスターキーが5個かどうかは疑わしいと言ってたのはあんただぜ。
じゃああなたはその封筒をあなた以外の誰がどうやってそこに置いたというのよ。それが証明できない限りあなたが狼なのよ。
うるせえ。
I feel like the words in italics really do mean something, but I wonder what.
ならあんたこそ証明しろよ。犯人はどうやってジョージの兄貴たちをあの密室で殺したと言うんだよ。どうやって施錠したと言うんだよ。
まったくにもってその通り。夏日の部屋も全く同じだぞ。いつもの通り。扉も窓も内側から施錠されていた。
If Natsui's room was exactly the same, just like the usual, it could mean anything. It's kind of vague.
いかなるイカ様も細工もなく、そして隠された通行手段もなければ隠れる場所もない。夏日自身の鍵はジョージのポケットに入って室内に閉じ込められていた。あとは5本のマスターキーしかないが、それは全てローザが持っている。
Why is Rosa in quotations? And if Rosa is in quotations, does that mean it's not the real Rosa? Since everything that she says is the truth. George is not in quotations. Why is Rosa in quotations?
ついでに言おう。その客間も同じよ。本来の客間の鍵は使用人室に封印されている。だからマスターキー以外では解錠不能。部屋の密室定義もいつもに同じよ。おいおい、容疑者はもう1人しかいねえぜ。それでもまだかまととぶんのかよ。後宮バトラー。
うるせえ。てめえも黙ってろ。
黙るのはあなたの方でしょ。あなた以外にどうやってその手紙を置けたというの。それが証明できない限りあなたは狼なのよ。
俺が疑えるってんならあんただって疑えるぜ。あんたこそ証明してみろ。最初に部屋に入って戸締まりの確認だのを始めたのはローザおばさんじゃねえかよ。そして俺の座っていた場所に再び俺が戻るだろうことを見越し これはあんたの罠だって疑うこともできるんだぜ。
Right.
どうして私がそんな罠を。私が狼ならこの銃で問答無用で撃ってるわよ。
そんなのじゃ理由にならねえな。マリアの目の前で殺人ができねえから、うまく罠にかけようって回りくどいことしてるかもしれねえじゃねえか。マスターキーは全てあんたの手にある。ならここもさっきも全部あんたの仕業じゃねえかよ。言い逃れできるってんなら言い訳を聞かせてみろよ。そうさ、ローザおばさんは最初から怪しいんだよ。なんで親族会議の大人たちが6人殺されたのにローザおばさんだけが例外なんだ。なんでローザおばさんだけがあの礼拝堂にいなかったんだ。
She was in the chapel. That's the thing. What was with that weird secret meeting with Beatrice in the chapel?
一つしか理由がねえよ。ローザおばさんが親父たちをあそこに招いて殺したんだ。くそくそ、それで全部説明がつくじゃねえかよ。ふざけんじゃねえ、ふざけんじゃねえ。わけのわかんねえことを言うんじゃねえ。
Oh. Oh. I was wondering when Maria would come up. Maria thrust herself in between me and Auntie Rosa, both of us incensed. I was taken aback by Maria's crying voice and returned to my senses. At that instant, I became filled with shame. Tears flowed from my eyes.
そうなんだよ。全部魔女のせいだったんじゃないかよ。
Don't give up, Battler.
鍵がどうこうとか、トリックだのアリバイだの、全部バカらしかったんだ。魔女の仕業なのに、俺たちは同じ人間同士を信じ合うこともできなくて。なあ、ローザおばさん。人間の犯人なんて最初からいなかったんだ。全部魔女の仕業だったんだ。だからローザおばさんが犯人のわけがないし、俺やマリアだって、そしてゲンジさんだって他のみんなだって犯人のわけがないんだ。どうしてこんなことに。俺はどうして大好きだったローザおばさんとこんなことの隣り合いをしてるんだよ。
But you know what? Rosa brought up a good point, that it's been 6 years since Battler returned to the Ushiromiya family, and in that time he could have grown up to be a totally different person. I wonder if you could say that he loves Rosa after meeting each other just yesterday. Could he really say that he loves Rosa? I mean, just like how Rosa was talking about how she can't trust Battler, can he trust her too?
優しくってどうしてこんな罵り合いをしてるんだよ。なんでみんなで疑い合わなくちゃならねえんだよ。おばさんを疑ってなんかいないんだ。誰も疑ってなんかないんだ。全部魔女の仕業だったんだ。ベアトリーチェの仕業だったんだ。全部ベアトリーチェが魔法で行った事件だったんだ。ベアトリーチェ。そして自分が全てやったと俺たちに告白してくれよ。もうごめんだ。こんな疑り合いはごめんなんだ。だから俺たちを許してくれ。解放してくれ。互いの死を見届け合うまで疑り合わなきゃならない地獄から解放してくれ。俺に優しい親戚たちを いとこたちを返してくれよ。もう嫌だ、嫌だ、全部嫌だ。お前は確かに実在する。姿を見せてくれよ。ベアトリーチェ。ベアトリーチェ。
Will she appear? Kinzo's study.
私はまだ生きているのか。
Kinzo seemed to have fallen into a doze at some point. He searched for his spectacles and looked at the clock. It was 10 p.m.
あやつの儀式はあってどこまで進んだのか。時間的にはもうだいぶ進んでいなくてはならぬ頃だ。
Sorry, but this time? He seems aware that there were times before this time. Or perhaps he's referring to a long ago, distant time. Kinzo lifted his heavy body from the chair and approached the portrait of the witch that he had gazed at every day.
ベアトリーチェ、もうじきお前の微笑みに再会できる。死んでもいい。お前の微笑みがもう一度見られるならこの命は惜しくない。だから交渉だ。お前にもう一度会わせてくれ。そして愛を誓わせておくれ。私の罪を謝らせておくれ。だが逃がさん。お前は私のものだ。髪の毛の一本からつま先まで爪の赤すらも私のものなのだ。
To the dirt under your nails. Okay, Kinzo.
お前の肉一片までも全て私のもので、その亡骸の煮汁まで私のものなのだ。逃がさん。今度こそこの手からこぼさん。お前を永遠に私のものにしてやるぞ。二度と逃がすものか。二度と逃がすものか。
Kinzo howled in rage, then suddenly fell to his knees as he shook and scraped at the wall. In an instant, he had started sobbing.
違う。私が言いたいのはこんなことじゃないんだ。ベアトリーチェ。頼む。もう一度会わせてくれ。謝らせてくれるだけでいい。ベアトリーチェ。
Apologize?
お前が愛しい恋しい。私が間違っていた。お前が微笑んでさえくれれば他には何もいらなかったんだ。私が間違えた。私がそれを間違えて取り返しのつかないことをしてしまった。
What is it? Oh man, it really feels like there's a huge development going on right now, and I don't know what it is. What did he do? He always talks about how he wants to see Beatrice's smile. Wow, actually, now that I think about it, maybe that thing about Beatrice and Kinzo really is true. Maybe that's why he made a mistake. Maybe that's why she hates love Wow. Is it really true?
その償いに残りのすべての人生を捧げた。お前に詫びるために、私の罪を償うために、すべて捧げたんだ。頼む。私の死の際でもいい。せめてお前に一言謝らせて。
I remember Kinzo said something along the lines of hating Beatrice. But he also seems quite, well, he is obsessed with her and also a bit desperate.
Beatrice!
Oh, in his room? As Kinzo shook and cried, behind his small back, a butterfly appeared out of nowhere like a flake of gold leaf and softly fell down. I am gonna assume that this butterfly came from where Rosa visited him in the beginning. Oh. You fool, Kinzo. Do you think a woman exists who would fall for a man's tears? Well, even if it wouldn't make a human woman fall for you, it might for a woman who is not a human. Kinzo, do you remember? The board position of our chess game, which we never finished. Kinzo, as though he had suddenly remembered something, approached the chess set. My, that thing with Beatrice and Kinzo really might be true. The game he had been playing with Nanjo until yesterday remained there still. He wiped the pieces from the chessboard with a wide sweeping motion and began to line them up again one by one. It was set up for a game in progress.
そうだ、こうだ。私はクイーンを勧めた。とても良い妙手だった。お前には少々きつすぎるかもしれん一手だった。お前は駒を見捨てるか見捨てないかに悩み、ずっと悩み。
I really can't help but think. So everything is like a chessboard game, and the pieces are the humans. And there was a match between Kinzo and Beatrice, and now there's a match ongoing between Beatrice and Battler. I feel like that's what's happening, but I also can't say I really understand what is happening. Kinzo waited with the opposite seat empty. Surely, very soon, his opponent would appear there, and he would be able to restart this game again. You fool, Kinzo. You want to apologize? You want to see my face again? You want to make my smile an eternal thing? Why can't you say a much simpler word? Even though that is the single element of the world. Right, love. At that time, Kinzo muttered, a prayer? An entreaty? It was probably best to just call it muttering.
Omae愛している Beatrice.
They were pure words, like something an innocent child would say, without any evil intent. You really are a fool, Kinzo. If you ever have the chance to do your life over again, know that those words could never cause a woman to fall for you. Yes, not without a miracle. So this... Just then, Kinzo definitely heard a small knock with a different tempo than those of the servants.
誰だ?
Maybe it's something like this that led him outside in the first episode. The woman beyond the door didn't answer.
誰かと聞いておる。返事をせるか。
The woman beyond the door didn't answer. Beatrice?
まさか。まさか。ベアトリーチェなのか。
Why am I feeling kind of sad for Kinzo? I really am.
ベアトリーチェ。ベアトリーチェ。
The woman beyond the door answered. On the night, twilight, the witch revives, and none shall be left alive. What? So... Oh my goodness. Oh, the clock. Resurrection. 11:30. Battler could be found in the dining hall, unable to summon the will to return to the guest house in the middle of this rain. He had wandered half-heartedly around the mansion in search of a random place to sit and had stationed himself in the dining hall. He hadn't bothered to lock it. He gave up. He did think that maybe the shapeless murderer or the golden witch might come to kill him now that he was isolated. But he no longer thought about resisting that. On the contrary, he had no intention of blocking the culprit with a lock. He wanted that person to come at him openly from the front. If it was a murderer, he thought he'd ask them to tell about some of those wonderful locked room tricks as a parting souvenir. And if it was a witch, he thought he'd ask her to at least take his life with some wonderful magic. However, ironically, neither of these two came to meet Battler. Battler opened the liquor cabinet on his own and enjoyed the liquor to his heart's content. No longer was there anybody anywhere who would have a problem with him drinking alcohol. I was just gonna say it. He boldly set both of his legs on the extravagant tablecloth and savored the high-quality liquor, which probably had a mind-boggling price, straight from the neck of the bottle. At that time, someone knocked. Battler realized that he was about to meet his maker.
おー、鍵なんかかかってねえぜ。誰でも入ってきてくれ。そして自己紹介を頼むぜ。人間なら名前を名乗ってくれ。ベアトリーチェだってんなら3サイズを教えてくれ。
Goodness.
俺はこう見えてもちょいと知られたおっぱいソムリエなんだぜ。
It's been so long since Battler had the heart to make a joke like that.
源氏でございます、バトラ様。
Now that's embarrassing.
源氏さんか。悪いがあんたのバストのサイズに興味はねえな。入ってくれよ。空いてるぜ。
失礼いたします。
Genji-san opened the door and bowed. So Genji-san was the culprit after all. Or maybe an accomplice. That theory would probably explain most of the tricks. That's true. That's what I've been saying. But I can't help but feel like maybe it's not.
あんたが 俺に引導を渡しに来たのかい？
そのようなことはございません。お邪魔なようでしたら失礼いたします。
おいおい、要件も伝えず失礼しますじゃかえって気持ち悪いぜ。何の用だよ。最後くらい好きにさせてくれ。
バトラ様は死せる最後のわずかな時間をそのように怠惰に過ごされることをお望みですか？
Those words stung. Of course it wasn't.
今さら何ができるってんだ。俺はいつだって死ぬ準備はできてるぜ。
親方様と同じですな。本当にあなたは親方様の血を色濃く受け継がれている。
Genji isn't denying that it's Battler's last few moments, though.
あの豪傑なじい様が実はいつ死んでもいいと思ってたってのか。それは初耳だぜ。
親方様の人生はいくつかの悲しい出来事の末、すべて贖罪のためのものとなり果てたのです。
I wonder if those sad incidents are related to Beatrice, and that's why he seemed so sad and also so obsessed with her. And hence the atonement. He may have wronged her somehow.
あんたは何を知っているんだ？
ベアトリーチェ様の儀式も第8の晩までをすべて終えました。
He knows.
もうすべてをお話ししてもよいかと思います。
Please do.
なんだって？
My drunkenness was completely blown away. I lowered my feet from the table and listened carefully to hear what kind of words Genji-san would say next.
バトラ様、親方様の書斎へご案内申し上げます。親方様たちに直接お話を聞かれるのがよろしいでしょう。
From them? Like Beatrice and Kinzo?
じい様たち。おい、それは一体どういう？
さあ、こちらへご案内申し上げます。バトラ様。
After Genji-san told me to follow him, he started to walk down the corridor. I sobered up completely and went after him. We climbed the big staircase towards the third floor. Genji-san stopped walking halfway. He then turned back and spoke.
バトラ様、これよりバトラ様は理解できぬものを見るでしょう。
脅すなよ。
I'm already seeing things that I cannot believe.
理解できねえもんなら今日嫌になるほど見てるぜ。
見えるものを見えるがままに、聞こえるものを聞こえるがままに受け入れてください。
So, I shall 100% believe in what I see and what I hear today. For now, I shall take Genji for his words and hear them out, what they have to say.
なぜも何も何も必要はありません。バトラ様はただ真実を知ることになるでしょう。
Okay, I will do this.
それをお認めになるかお信じになるか、あるいは否定されるかも、すべてバトラ様にお任せいたします。
If he says that it's the truth, then maybe I shall believe him. Genji-san checked one last time to see whether I was prepared to learn the truth. The 8th twilight had already ended, and on the 9th twilight, the witch revives and none shall be left alive. It meant that Beatrice had already revived, and probably none of us would be allowed to return alive. And that's probably why Genji said that this would be Battler's last few moments, or insinuated as such. If I was going to lose my life anyway, I wanted to know the truth in the end. It didn't matter how hard it might be to accept.
鬼が出ようと魔女が出ようと覚悟はできてるぜ。
I think I'm prepared as well.
本当にあなたは親方様の若き頃にそっくりだ。バトラ様、どうかご勉学にお励みを。あなたは将来必ずや大きな志を持たれるでしょう。そしてその時足りぬ学力に一生後悔されることがありませんよ。
When he says studies, my mind went to Kinzo's type of study. And I wonder if Genji refers to that, but he did say academic knowledge.
勉学に勤しめる機会がもらえるならぜひな。
Genji-san's silence forced me to consider that resonation of mine more deeply. And we could see the door of grandfather's study impregnated with a sweet smell. Must be his alcohol. From his pocket, Genji-san withdrew a gold key with an elegant design. The master keys had been confiscated by Auntie Rosa, but the key to the study alone he had kept with him. He put it in the keyhole, and it made a heavy, thunking sound. If Genji had this key on him the entire time, it might enable him to do some things that other people cannot.
親方様、源氏です。バトラ様をお連れいたしました。
There was no reply, but it seemed that permission to go in had been given.
さあ、バトラ様、どうぞ。
ああ、入るぜ。
I read it myself and threw the door open. Ooh, golden butterflies. And more. At that moment, I got slightly disoriented by the dazzling golden glow. It was, somehow, a swarm of butterflies shining gold. The golden butterflies that were completely filling the inside of the study poured out all at once. It's interesting that Battler calls them butterflies as they are, instead of golden leaves that everyone else has been saying. It was almost like golden leaf confetti. Okay, never mind. He says it here. The interior of grandfather's study was filled with a golden glow. And there were reception sofas and table for guests placed in front of the study desk. And I could see grandfather's back. There was someone on the side opposite from grandfather. It was in shadow, so I couldn't see it well.
親方様、バトラ様をお連れしました。
バトラか。今思考が忙しい。しばし沈黙せよ。
Kinzo declared that in displeasure, his back still turned. It seemed that he was enjoying playing chess with a visitor. Apparently, the opponent had counterattacked with a superb move. Kinzo seemed to be enjoying himself as he thought deeply, while occasionally laughing and groaning.
30年考えた。この一手をどう切り返すか、 30年考えたぞ。
I mean, I knew it was Beatrice, but still, to be seeing her in person, playing chess with Kinzo is kind of wild.
楽しめ。30年を寝かせた我が一手を楽しめ。
まことにこの一手は味わい深き熟成された一手よ。楽しい楽しい。
The way Kinzo laughs is kind of like a villain.
かなわぬかなわぬ。
これは何だってんだ。
来たかバトラ。しばらく待て。金蔵のために沈黙を。まだリザインは早いぞ金蔵。わらわならもう数手は切り返せる。
It should have been my first meeting with that witch. However, I knew this witch. What? Even though it was our first meeting, I knew her from the portrait.
源氏、バトラのために飲み物を振る舞え。この男によりふさわしきやつは何か？
若き日より親方様が愛されている。
それが良いぞ。振る舞ってやれ。よくぞ来たな。後ろ宮バトラ。
Do they see Kinzo in Battler? Is that why he was brought in here?
まずは座れ。そなたはわらわの名を何度も呼んだな。それに免じ、わらわとの面会を許した。そしてお前は、わらわに何を聞く？何を尋ねるのか。黄金鏡の扉はもうじき開かれる。魔女たちを迎え入れてのわらわの復活を祝う宴はもうじきだぞ。それまでの間、お前の問いにいくらでも答えてやろう。
To be honest, I wonder what a revival means to Beatrice. Does it mean that she's gotten back all of her powers? Because she could still be seen by Shannon and Kennen even before the ritual was carried out.
聞きてえことは山ほどある。この島で何が起こった？そしてどうしてこんな事件が起こった？密室についても聞きたい。礼拝堂は？ジェシカの部屋は？シオニッサ、夏代おばさんの部屋は？そして客場は？聞きたいことはまだまだある。魔女の正体は？本当にベアトリーチは魔女なのか？何が目的だ？俺たちに何をさせたい？俺をなぜここへ呼んだんだ？答えろ、全てだ。
やかましい。問えば答えは変えるのか？
そういうな金蔵。もろく儚い雲の巣もヘロデの王から守ってくれることもある。この世に無駄なものなどないように、無駄な質問もまたない。よいよい、すべての質問に答えようぞ。ただし条件が一つだけある。
Let's hear you out, Beatrice.
なんだ？
すべてを聞き、わらわの存在に納得できたなら、ひざまずき、わらわの靴にキスをせよ。お前を屈服させたくて、わらわはここへ呼びつけたのだから。わらわと金蔵は賭けをした。金蔵が次の手をひらめくのと、わらわがそなたを屈服させるのと、どちらが早いかだ。
Goodness.
負ける気はせぬぞ。
でけえ口を叩きやがって。ああ、いいぜ。俺を納得させてみろよ。お前が間違いなく魔女様で、不思議で素敵な大魔法を使えるってことを納得させてみろよ。屈服したならキスでも何でもくれてやれ。
The witch cackled gloatingly. Then she glared at him unpleasantly with eyes that said a man can't go back on his word.
よくぞ言った。さて、どの問いから答えようか。
So after Battler hears her answers, he would have to submit to her?
すべて答えるぞ。さあ、まずは何からだ。
Wait, is it gonna end like that? I won't get my answers at all? What? No way! Seriously? Okay, let me read this. And the witch began to tell of everything. She started providing answers to all of Battler's questions. Everyone made logical sense, everyone satisfied him, and Battler was forced to admit witches truly did exist, in quotations, as usual. The rest of the story need not be told after toppling the king and resigning, and set up the pieces once more. The next game board, chessboard, it's second game. It's chapter 10 again. The first 6 will always be sacrificed by the key. We definitely saw a lot more this time. But wait, missing? Kinzo accepted, Rosa denied. Maria accepted, yes. Again, Battler! The witch shall praise the wise. Oh, that's new. Is it about a mountain of gold? No, maybe not. Genji, a peaceful sleep. But it says, rest in peace, Beatrice. I don't get it. Really don't get it. None could solve the riddle. Beatrice. They keep saying rest in peace, Beatrice. Even after she revived. I don't get it. I don't get it. I wonder what new things we will see today. Oh. Oh, it's not over, I think. It's not over!
Beatrice! Beatrice!
Rosa finally arrived at the chapel. She pointed her gun around, screaming the witch's name, but there was no way there would be an answer. And I wonder if she came to the chapel because that's where she met Beatrice. After grimacing slightly, she noisily approached the table where her siblings' corpses were still exposed and stretched out her arm towards the gold ingots. They were very heavy, but Rosa paid that no regard. She wrapped one of them up in a blanket and slung it over her shoulder. Even now, it's just money to Rosa, huh?
せめてこの一つだけでもこれだけでも1000万以上の価値があるはず
Rosa did not part with her gun either, carrying the gold in addition to it. Her shoulders were screaming, but Rosa didn't care. That kind of scared me.
もう すぐだね。もうすぐ黄金鏡の扉が開く。
その気持ち悪い声で笑うのをやめなさい。ベアトリチェはどこにいるの？ええ、分かってるわ。どこかにいるんでしょ？あなたは知ってるんでしょ？どこ？
知らない。探さなくても黄金鏡で会えるよ。
その笑いをやめなさい。私が笑いたいくらいよ。そうね、あれは間違いなく魔女だったわ。間違いなく魔女だった。私は分かってなかった。魔女を名乗る人間だと信じてた。違う、あれは本当に魔女だった。私はあんなのにごまかされないわよ。いるんでしょ？出てきなさい。姿を現しなさい。ベアトリーチェ！
だからもうすぐ現れるよ。黄金鏡の扉が開かれるよ。
Is it not over until it strikes 12?
そうだ、それでよかったのだ。構わぬ、ルークを捨てるぞ。持てるもの全てを失う覚悟がなければ至ることもできぬキングがお前という女なのだ。追い詰めるぞ、ベアトリーチェ。
せめてクイーンと言えよ。ほう、なかなかに妙手。諦めの悪さがそなたの。いや、後ろ宮の地下。
What happened to Battler?
心地よし、実に優雅な夜だ。うわ
親方様、ベアトリーチェ様、そろそろ宴の時間でございます。
Banquet.
もうか。早い。
Is it a banquet to invite the other witches?
お前と過ごす夜はいつも早く、月がリンゴのように落ち、川面より跳ねる小魚のように日が昇るのだ。
行こうではないか。時間だ。立て、バトル。
Oh no. That means he submitted to her.
わらわの復活を祝う宴の始まりだ。わらわの新しい家具。いや、玩具として紹介しようぞ。お歴々の魔女たちに。
The witch was relaxing elegantly, her feet thrown out from the sofa and sitting on top of a footrest. That's Battler, isn't it? However, the footrest wasn't a part of the sofa. It was human, which was down on all fours.
ベアトリーチェ様、お召し替えのドレスでございます。
主賓はお前だが、ホストは私だ。私は先に出ていよう。着付けの手伝いにシャノンでもおればよかったが、あいにく残れなかったようだな。使いたい時にいつもおらん。つくづく使えんやつよ。しかしお前はよく残ってくれた。嬉しいぞ、我が友よ。
ありがたいお言葉です。
よい、二人とも先に下で待て。源氏、ご苦労。
かしこまりました。それでは親方様、
我らは先に行こう。ベアトリーチェ、後ほどな。
Kinzo and Genji left the study. After that, only the witch and the dress and the furniture remained.
なぜわらわがそなたに肌を見せることを恥じぬかわかるか？そなたは家具だからだ。
And it seems that Genji and Kinzo accepted that as well, considering Genji didn't even say anything to Battler.
家具わかるか？家具だよ、家具。家具に体をさらして恥じる者がどこにいよう。だからお前にわらわは恥じる必要がない。
The witch stood up and removed her jacket just at the shoulders. The jacket slumped down at the back. When the furniture respectfully approached to pick up her clothing, the witch gave it a small kick and it fell over, not even referring to Battler properly. Quite dehumanizing, for sure. The furniture was afraid of what misconduct it had shown.
そなたは家具の分際でわらわに自らボタンを外させるつもりなのか。立て、そしてこのボタンを外せ。一つずつ。手早く、美しく、粗相なく。客人たちを待たせてしまうぞ。早くわらわを着替えさせろ。
はい。
What happened to Battler?
丁寧に外すのだぞ。そなたの目玉一つよりも高価なボタンであるぞ。間違ってちぎるようなことがあったなら、代わりにそなたの目玉を縫い付けてやる。
I know Battler became furniture, but his personality changed as well. The entrance hall was bustling with a large number of figures, and it was sparkling gold with the gold butterflies flying around. The gentlemen in suits and tuxedos and the ladies in dresses looked like they were having a great number of friendly chats. At a glance, it might have looked like a fabulous medieval ball. But they all had one thing in common, and that thing was exceedingly bizarre. Because all of them had goat heads. It was impossible to tell whether it was a goat masquerade or whether they really had goat heads. The latter was a ridiculous notion, but in this bizarre world, there were serious doubts about which was true. Kinzo was amongst those goat nobles, greeting them. Every one of them seemed to be an honored guest, and Kinzo greeted them more respectfully than could ever have been imagined from his normal demeanor. At that time, Genji's voice rang out through the hall. It was a voice calling for silence. That voice stopped the voices of idle chatter, and everyone turned to face Genji.
今宵復活を遂げましたる我らが黄金の魔女ベアトリーチェ卿のご入場でございます。
I wonder if this took place even in episode 1 though, since Beatrice also revived, but Kinzo wasn't around, supposedly.
皆様拍手をもってどうかお迎えください。
When Genji began to applaud, it quickly spread through the guests and became thunderous applause. And the Golden Witch appeared at the top of the large staircase. She gracefully waved her hand as she slowly descended the staircase, with her preferred furniture in tow. The goat nobles offered unanimous words of celebration in some long-forgotten language, and those with whom she was closely acquainted embraced her, filled with joy at their reunion. As the witch offered greetings of reunion, the witch's furniture followed behind her the whole time. there was a chain around its neck. This was gripped in the witch's hand like it was a trained dog. The chain wasn't there to restrain it. The only purpose of the restraining device was to injure the furniture's dignity. It wasn't permitted to wear anything else on its body. One of the young woman goats mixed in with the goat nobles. Softly removed her goat mask as the furniture passed in front of her and spoke with eyes that had no light in them. It's Berncastle? It's a goat mask? That face looks like it belonged to a long-haired young girl. Oh my goodness.
おお、ベルンカステル卿。これはようこそおいでよ。ファラワの家具を気に入られたか？いい趣味ね。
After saying only that, the witch called Berncastle once again put on her goat mask and was swallowed up in the shadows of the other tall goats. Sounds like Beatrice's fakes.
悔しがってるのよ。
違いないな。
Is there rivalry between the two? The young women goats giggled, and the witch once again let out a high-pitched laugh.
今宵はわらわのためによく集まってくれた。久々に古今東西の旧友たちが集う魔女の宴を存分に楽しもうではないか。さあ、今宵を食い明かし、飲み明かし、すすり明かし、食いちぎり明かして、とことん楽しもうではないか。時計を見よ。終わりの時間と始まりの時間が溶け合う時を指すぞ。魔女の宴を始めよう。
When the witch proclaimed the beginning of the banquet, the large clock pointed to 24 o'clock, and the sound of a bell began to ring out loudly.
さあ、今こそ黄金の扉を。
It really opened. What's happening? All at once, the butterflies leaved in gold flew all around the inside of the room. Amidst the golden storm and the brilliant gold-colored light, the cross-section joining this world and a different world was cut open. Amidst the goats' delighted voices, the mention of the human world and the mention of those not human overlapped. And, in the form of golden butterflies, all those folk who praised the resurrection of the Golden Witch poured out of the depths of hell. It was a golden tornado, a rondo of golden demons. Come, tonight we will put aside rank. Throw open the wine cellar, drop the snake's head into the liquor pot, throw cows and chickens into the furnace alive, drink and eat and sing and dance, sneer and kill and desecrate and degrade.
Beatrice! 今こそ私を黄金鏡へ！黄金鏡へ！
The goat nobles were suddenly crushing in around Kinzo, almost like they were kids demanding the autograph of some famous movie star. There were two differences. First, they were witches, not kids. And second, what the witches demanded were not autographs. Are they eating Kinzo? Kinzo began to drown in the sea of goat nobles. Only Kinzo's laughing voice echoed throughout the area. Oh, that is so scary! They ate him, did they not? It was a grand mixture of laughter and his death throes. And Kinzo became wine and meat and bread. I knew it. An aroma if slurped, a rich taste if gnawed, and pleasant to tear to bits. The voice of his death throes lingered on sweetly. And adorned with melted chocolate and silver dragées, it would make a wonderful dessert. If you took the bones home, you could also use them for a soup. And the remains could even become toys for the children to play with. And they could also become good tools for fortune-telling that always gave misfortune. That entire scene was watched by the piece of furniture. It was all fantastical. It was all demonic. It was the quaking of its heart, which should have been paralyzed, proof that it could still feel fear. Just then, its knees buckled and the furniture's body tumbled onto the center of the carpet, because the witch had kicked those knees from behind.
ひざまずき敬意を示せ。額を絨毯にこすりつけて、おのがみの癒しさを示せ。両手を後ろで組み、血肉のすべてをわらわに捧げることを誓え。
Piece of furniture let out a painful voice. Fear is the most primal emotion humans have. Was that emotion reviving his sense of self, which should have already been killed? That would explain why Battler is not acting like himself at all. I wonder if that means the other furnitures also lost their sense of self. Well, in a way they did, I guess.
まだまだわらわの家具にはふさわしくないか。よい、じっくりそなたを。わらわ好みに、そしてわらわにのみふさわしい家具に仕上げてやる。今のそなたにできるのは、せいぜい客人の方々を楽しませることくらいか。
The goat nobles were surrounding the cowering furniture. It seemed that their blazing, blood-red eyes couldn't hide their ecstasy at this new young food they had been given. Battler's... Battler's gonna be eaten too. No? And from their mouths, from which protruded countless ugly teeth, saliva, or maybe the traces of meat and wine they had just eaten, dribbled down. You know what? I just realized that wine probably refers to the blood. As the piece of furniture let out a wild scream, it retreated, still sitting on its backside. But the circle of goat nobles were closing in. And the piece of furniture looked at the witch's face. It stared at her face one final time, believing that because it had submitted to the witch, she would show it some mercy. But there was nothing but scorn on the witch's face, and she wasn't even facing it anymore. The witch went off to greet an honored guest, with whom she had crossed gazes. The goat nobles looked down upon the furniture. They were in fact waiting. Just like how one must remove the cork in order to drink champagne, before bringing the offering served at the banquet to their mouths. They were waiting for just one of those. What those? Of course, the furniture didn't know what that was. But it would come out of his mouth all by itself. In the same way there is always a pop When a cork is removed, it too would certainly leave its mouth. His mouth. Not it, it's his mouth. Scream? Oh. It was a sign that the modest banquet at which he was to be served had begun. Oh, goodness. I don't like this. It's so graphic. Kapoop. And so on. By now, the rose garden was a garden of roses and gold. A gold-colored garden where gold butterflies, gold fairies, gold lizards rampaged and flew about wildly.
Maria, hayaku!
That's so strange. I almost forgot about Rosa too. Rosa and Maria now hurrying to the mansion?
走って! 早く早く! 早く早く!
Holding onto the gun and a blanket wrapping the ingot. Even now, she still wants to hold onto the ingot? Rosa ran at a speed Maria couldn't catch up with, sometimes pausing to call out at Maria to run faster. Therefore, she saw it every time. She saw golden pursuers chasing them from the mansion. A mass of gold butterflies were chasing after them like a massive, crawling hand. And horrifyingly strange-looking shadowy figures with goat heads were chasing after them. There was no need for her to strain her eyes, because those blazing pupils told her what would happen if she was captured. Maria tripped over. Rosa, ashamed that for just an instant she had entertained thoughts of abandoning her daughter and running away, kicked back against the ground and instantly reversed directions. You know what? At least Rosa didn't abandon Maria, and that she felt some shame in doing so. Oh no. As Rosa's own child tried to stand, the goat head that had sprinted over to get the first bite grabbed a fistful of her hair and pulled her up from the back. I'm surprised Rosa. Maria is scared though. Rosa ramped into the goat head with her shoulder, spun, bashed the back of her elbow into the goat's jaw, and buried her knee into its protruding chest. And she thrust the barrel of the gun inside the goat head's mouth as it doubled over from the pain in its gut.
私の目の前でマリアに指一本触れてみろ。世と来た地獄が生ぬるかったことを教えてやるよ。
Oh wow. The blast from the 45 caliber long Colt bullet exploded inside the goat's head's throat, and its medulla oblongata was instantly pulverized. No, why do they have to say it like that? I believe that's part of the brain. The goat head couldn't understand. It had thought that women were like already opened wine bottles. It had thought that they were wine bottles and that turning them upside down would immediately cause their deep red contents to come out. Released, Maria flung her arms around Rosa. But the pursuers were still coming. They could see the giant goat heads, who had given up even pretending to be human, running towards them from across the rose bushes. Rosa spilled several extra bullets, which had been in the pocket of her coat, all over the place, and told Maria to pick them up. Oh, wow.
Mario, ママがもし倒れたら、あなたは走りなさい。海岸へ行くの。そして、泳いで泳ぎなさい。
I'm kind of tearing up right now.
この島のどこにも生き延びることのできる場所はない。や
だ。ママと一緒。
Rosa's gun roared 4 times. But even though she really did land 4 shots in the chest of the massive approaching goat, it didn't even flinch. The goat ran with a violent vigor, as though it had planned to crush Rosa and Maria with its massive body.
弾を入れて！早く！
I can't believe I'm saying this, but I hope they make it, even though I feel like they won't. Rosa grasped the blanket with the ingot in both hands, and she herself sprinted at the goat, dragging the ingots along behind her, without even an ounce of fear of that strange-looking giant. If it's to protect my daughter, I'll overcome even hell.
見せてやるよ。黄金の夢ってやつを！
Oh no. Rosa's roar. The goat head's roar. The terribly heavy ingot, after picking up a terrible centrifugal force and speed, slammed into the goat head's cranium. Rosa pulled a fountain pen from her pocket, but she held it crooked. She placed it in her palm, in the gap between her middle and her ring finger, so that it stuck out when she made a fist, almost like it was a stinger growing out. Oh? She jabbed that stinger into the left eye of the goat head as its head toppled forward. Was the goat head's roar a scream? But Rosa's roar was different. She pulled back her fist and slammed it into the fountain pen that was still sticking in the goat head's eyes. Oh my goodness. The pointed tip was gouged destructively into the depths of its head. As I grabbed the gun Maria had thrown, I finally heard the thunderous crash of the giant tumbling to earth. The bullets went into the gun or into the goat? However, at the same time, I saw the goat-head pursuers on the other side of the rose bushes increase in number. Okay, before I continue any further, I just want to say, for my own benefit, I'll probably add this at the end, but Rosa sticking the fountain pen into its head reminds me of how the stick, got lodged so deeply inside Eva's head. I don't know if it has any relation with it, if that's the way you have to kill goat heads, but Rosa seems to know something. Well, it feels like she knows something. And yeah, she's very fearless right now. I've gained some distance, more than enough now. Holding onto the gun and a blanket wrapped around the ingot, I once again ran with Maria. Why am I running with a gun in my right hand and the gold in my left? Why don't I free one hand and grasp Maria's hand? I can't let go of the gun that protects my body. I can't let go of the gold that protects my future. And yet I would let go of the hand of my daughter, who is my very future? Oh my goodness. Run! Run, run! She got out of the rose garden and began to run down the staircase through the grove of trees. But Rosa knew. This path through the grove was only turning and twisting many times to make it seem long. She tore straight through it. She had always played here since she was a kid. So she knew. To the beach, to the beach. The sea, to the sea, to the sea. And after reaching the sea, nothing to do but swim. Swim, swim. If Maria can't swim, I'll carry her as I swim. There is nothing but death on this island. Oh no. Oh no. As she raced down the stairs, she took a bad step. A violent pain ran up her left ankle, and her mind went completely blank. Rosa fell down the stairs and stared in shock at her ankle, which was bent at an odd angle. And the blanket with the ingot wasn't there. She had let go of it the instant she fell, and it had disappeared somewhere into the darkness. Only the gun was left. The tremors in the earth was getting closer. It was only a matter of time before the goat heads flooded in. She didn't want to imagine how many there would be or how strange they would look. The lightly dancing goat pursuers arrived. The goat butterflies surrounded Rosa and Maria, sparkling and clamoring as though saying, "The prize is here! The prize is here!" Rosa couldn't even try to get up. The violent pain from a broken ankle was so great that she couldn't ignore it even in her last moments. What am I doing? I had the gold. It would have been worth several million yen. I might have been able to start over with that. And yet I fell, lost it, and that's not all. My own life is in danger. Even Maria's life is in danger. What has my life been? I was born in an incomprehensible house. What an irritating older brother and sister since the day I was born. What did I do? No matter what I did or didn't do, I was always in trouble and bullied and made fun of. What has my life been? Oh my goodness. The roar inside Rosa's heart shriveled away and disappeared. It disappeared when she listened to Maria's crying voice as her daughter sobbed and clung onto her. Oh goodness, I'm really gonna cry here.
ママはちょっと用事を思い出したの。先に行っててちょうだい。
No! Rosa.
やだやだやだやだ。ママと一緒がいい。ママが死んじゃ嫌だ。
マリアはこんな悪いママでもママと一緒がいいと言ってくれるの。
ママと一緒がいい。ママと一緒がいい。
あなたのことを一番にしているように見せて、いつもあなたのことを後回しにしてきた。運動会に行った、授業参観に行った。でもいつもママは世間体のことばかりで、あなたが瞳にいなかった。こんなママとでもあなたは一緒にいたいというの。こんな悪いママなのに。
ねえママ、知ってる？世界にママは一人しかいないんだよ。いいママも悪いママもいない。ただママが一人いるだけなの。だからマリアは世界でたった一人ママがいてくれればいい。そしてママにとってたった一人のマリアになりたいの。機嫌が良くて甘やかしたいマリアと邪魔だからいてほしくないマリアは別人じゃないの。マリアもたった一人のマリアなの。だから怖いママも優しいママも一緒。マリアにはたった一人のママなの。
てバカだったの。黄金なんかいらなかった。ただあなただけの手を引いていればよかった。私はなんてバカなママだったの。
The shadows of the goats covered the sky even more than the trees of the forest. Their roars blotted out the world with fear. Rosa, still hugging Maria, readied her gun with one hand.
マリア、一緒に行こう。ずっと一緒よ。ママが迷わないようにずっと一緒に。
すぐに会えるよ。ずっと一緒だよ。黄金鏡で会えるよ。そしたら一緒に遊ぶの。狼と羊のパズルで遊ぶの。ママはまだ1問しか解いてないけど、マリアは全部解いちゃったんだよ。だからマリアが出題してあげる。
She had bought that as a birthday present, and then hadn't played it with Maria after that night.
遊ぼうね。約束する。
Those eyes, sparkling like red-hot lava, looked just like a group of fireflies. They danced, closed in, and attacked.
怖いよ。マリアが込めてくれた銃弾を食らいたいやつから前へ出ろよ。うわー。
No! No! Oh, no. Everyone died. I mean, I knew Rosa would die still. But... I don't know. That was such an ending. We have more gold? Maybe not. I don't know, is this the end of episode 2? Is there still more? Oh, there's a new tea party. Okay. Hello everyone. That was such an ending. It really gave me goosebumps as I was watching it, and I was speechless. I didn't have anything to say because I was just speechless. I really enjoyed that ending. It's quite impactful, I would say. But anyway, to go back to the beginning, well, not really the beginning, but to go back and talk a little bit about what Genji said to Battler before he entered Kinzo's study. You know, I thought, and I did try to resolve to listen to Beatrice and to accept what she said as the truth. But Beatrice didn't really share anything with us, so I had nothing to accept as the truth. Then when we came back to the mansion after the ending credits rolled, Battler had already submitted to Beatrice and became furniture. He had no sense of self and didn't seem to be able to form thoughts of his own. He was really different from how he usually was, and it made me wonder if the mere act of submission, then becoming furniture, does it take away one's own identity? What does Beatrice stand to gain from this in the first place? And well, she always seemed to enjoy the battle of the wits with Battler, but she also seems to enjoy having a mindless slave obeying her every order. But perhaps that's just the whims of a fickle witch. Which really brings me to my next point. Maria seems to welcome the Golden Land. She's always laughing creepily and talking about being a witch and being friends with witches, but if so, why do the goat heads not recognize her? Why do they chase her? And maybe you could say it's because Maria is really just pretending to be a witch and she's just having fantasies of becoming one, and that's why. But I think the more important question here is, why was Maria afraid? I would think that if she truly is a witch or want to be a witch, she would not be afraid of death or afraid of the goat heads coming after her, because isn't this what she wants? To be welcomed to the Golden Land, to go to the Golden Land. Isn't this what needs to happen? I think about this and I'm not sure. She didn't want to die. And I guess my point is, if she didn't die, then wouldn't she be unable to go to the Golden Land? It just stood out to me because Maria was always so unfazed, even in the face of other people dying and murdered and sacrificed and whatnot. But here she's afraid, even if it meant that she could leave for the Golden Land. To me, that's just a little odd or thought-provoking. I thought it was interesting, a different side of Maria, which we don't usually see. But I'm always curious to hear what you guys think about this. And also, I will say that, I think you guys know how I feel about Rosa, but this ending actually did make me less hostile towards Rosa, if you could say that. It made me empathize or sympathize with her a little more. I will say that even though Rosa is usually a horrible parent figure to Maria, in this episode, in this ending, I can say at least that she truly does care for Maria. She showed some level of remorse, awareness, and accepts her fate. I got really emotional at the entire interaction between the two of them at the ending. And in episode 1, we saw Natsuhi and Jessica gain a deeper understanding of each other. And if you remember, I was super emotional at that scene too. But in episode 2, we see the same thing between Rosa and Maria. And I really liked this parallel between the two episodes. And I wonder if it will continue in episode 3. At this rate, I'm assuming that episode 3 and episode 4 will feature George and Battler's parents. As I'm thinking about all of this and trying to solve the locked room, I just can't help but feel like I'm at the witch's mercy. If I trust her, I feel like I lose. If I don't trust her, I feel like I lose too. But you know what? The easiest way to deal with the witch, to deny her, is to uninstall Umineko. Okay. But all jokes aside, I think that it's a wild ride. And I feel like some things are less impactful because it's episode 2, but other things became more impactful because it's episode 2, like the interaction between Maria and Rosa. I really enjoyed having experienced this with them. I can't believe I'm saying this, but it really feels like I'm that 19th person in the mansion with them. Sometimes it really feels that way. But anyway, I think after this, we do have the tea party and probably more. And then we will start episode 3 proper. I'm thinking of doing a live stream where we can discuss some things Umineko related. Episode 2 specifically, and maybe a bit of episode 1. And definitely I'm gonna come up with another tier list just because this time, this episode really shifted a lot of things around. Like, Gohda is no longer an asshole, and Rosa is not as bad as she originally was. She is still pretty bad, but not as bad. Not as bad. But anyway, let me know what you guys think of this episode, of really everything that's happened so far when you first encountered it. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye.